Hello.
Hello.
Over the last few weeks, we've put together quite a few videos that have basically been informed by the coronavirus crisis that we've all been going through. We've covered things like emergency funds, what to do to make your investments last longer, and also really what the government is doing to help us over the crisis. The thing is, now it's tangible. We feel like we're coming out of it. Everyone is having a big sigh of collective relief, really. However, we don't want to worry you, but...
Well, basically, it's not over. We may or may not get a second wave of the coronavirus, but we almost certainly will get a second wave of the economic downturn. If nothing else, the big gap in time between the ending of the furlough schemes and support measures to help the economy and the substantive impact of the new deals being discussed in Europe, in the US, in the UK, where we're talking about infrastructure spend, catching up on the NHS, catching up on educational spending. Those are all very worthy things to be doing and will all stimulate the economy, but those will fade through very, very slowly over the next few years. More immediately, we'll have a gap between furlough and infrastructure.
But what people really need to do is to spend money now in order to spur the economy. We can't just wait until the infrastructure program's kicked in.
No, exactly. And unfortunately, the situation is for either whether you've been a winner or a loser over the COVID financial crisis, people are spending less. Some people are spending less because they physically got less. They're either on furlough or they've been made redundant already. Other people have not experienced a fall in income just yet, but they fear that they'll be made redundant very shortly. And even those who've actually done quite well are still on full earnings, or perhaps have already retired and have got fairly stable pensions. Even they're not spending. Between March and May, £56.6 billion was added to deposit accounts with the major UK banks, despite the fact that they pay almost no interest at all.
Yeah, so people aren't spending, and they're still to some extent waiting for the worst thing to happen. We are in the eye of the proverbial storm, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I think very much so. And what people have to do if they feel vulnerable is to come up with a plan and do it now before things get worse. I know it sounds hyperbolic to say that, but we have got a window of opportunity whilst there are support mechanisms out there to be making plans. And what we're talking about here is you've got to look at your income, you've got to look at your spending, and you've got to manage your debt. So what we mean by that is, with your income, you need to look at your budget, you need to look at perhaps second forms of income. If you're in a job that's especially vulnerable to the lockdown, to the shutdown, to perhaps hospitality, so have you, you might be wanting to look at retraining. If you're young enough, it might be worthwhile doing a complete game change and retraining altogether. But also on top of that, you've got to be looking at your costs. You have to prioritise more. Are these subscriptions things you really need in the current environment? Perhaps Netflix helped get you through the lockdown, but is it really something you can afford going forward? So what we're talking about is sort of actually having a budget. I'm not saying cut things, but at least think about things. And the other side of that is debt. Debt is always what does the damage in the end. And what we mean here is, if you're having problems servicing the loans you've got, your mortgage, credit cards, personal loans, anything like that, speak to your lenders. They are far more accommodative than you might imagine, and they certainly appreciate being involved early in the game. Because some people are worried that speaking to a lender that they're in difficulty, or telling a lender that they're in difficulty, might precipitate action. In the main, it actually makes things easier all round, and payment terms can be adjusted, and payment holidays. Well, we've had payment holidays at the moment, but there are things that can be done. And if you feel that your situation on the debt front is unsustainable and you don't want to talk to your lender, talk to people like Citizens Advice, talk to the charity Step Change. They're both experts at helping people deal with seemingly intractable situations, and they can really get you give you a little bit of belief to feel that you're not quite on your own, in the way that debt can be a very isolating experience if it becomes too much for you to handle. So we're in a situation now where furlough is winding down. It'll be gone altogether by October. So it's really important to do these sort of things now, not wait for October to come.
So, but of course, some people have been remarkably fortunate over the lockdown period, have still got their incomes. What should they do?
Well, if you are in that fortunate position, maybe there's a little bit of social responsibility to spend, to donate, to tip. Now that the hospitality sector is beginning to open, people are going to appreciate that extra sort of thoughtfulness and to share your good fortune. So thank you very much for watching. Please comment, subscribe, ring the bell, like, and until next week, take care out there.